Okay. Oh, that's all right. Take a big deep breath.
All right, we're going.
Okay, we're live.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. This is the Open Space and Ecology Committee meeting, July 17th. Absent are Glenn Feldman and Meg Ankenbrook, and everyone else is here. So we'll get started. First thing on the agenda is approval of the April minutes. Did anyone have anything on the, do you want to pull up the April minutes on the,
May and June.
pardon?
April minutes are approved.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. First thing is roll call, which we just did. The next thing is the
to be the first ones. Live streamed on YouTube.
So shall we continue?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties if anybody's actually out there in TV land watching. We are apparently testing a new streaming, moving to streaming on YouTube. So we're all YouTube stars. So we've adopted the agenda with the addition of introductions. There are no oral communications, except I was going to have people mark it on your calendar. The San Bruno Mountain Watch Pancake Breakfast and plant sale will be on Sunday, September 9th, 8th, whatever that Sunday is. So mark it on your calendar now, because you don't want to miss that. And next comes introductions.
Can you repeat the date?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just double check the date. Oh, my husband just said the audio was a total mess. Okay.
Yeah,
We got that. Hold on. The date is Sunday, September 8th. Pancake breakfast and plant sale at the Mission Blue Nursery. Okay, introductions. So, well, first of all, I'd like to introduce our newest member of the Open Space and Ecology Committee. That's Carl Lamb.
Carl.
Yay, Carl. Just
Welcome.
a few things that I know is that Carl grew up here in Brisbane, and his family owns the Lucky House restaurant. And Carl, I know for a fact, has been an environmentalist for a very long time, because when he was a child, he worked on Costaños Canyon with us, pulling ivy off of the trees. That's how long we've been doing it. So, Carl, why don't you tell us some about yourself?
Sure. Well, like Michelle
And
mentioned.
speak into the mic so that.
Is this? Oh, yeah, this is working. Good. So happy to participate on the OSEC committee. This is my first, I guess, public service type committee, so very happy to do that. I guess outside of growing up in Brisbane, I worked out of state for a few years, so I really wanted to come back to Brisbane. I thought it was a really special place. I run a lot too, so I appreciate San Bruno Mountain and the trails. Professionally, I was trained as a chemical engineer. I have a PhD in material science engineering, and I currently do soil remediation, waste management work in the oil and gas industry. So that's kind of relevant to Brisbane. So I didn't really want to do traditional chemical engineering like unit operations or process control. Really wanted to move my career into more environmental areas. So I thought, that was a good way to spin a career. So that's my background. I have 2 daughters, and they're young, and we walk around a lot in Brisbane. So that's my background.
Great. Really delighted to have you on the committee. So welcome, Carl. Anybody have questions for Carl?
Yeah,
Okay.
welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So Adrian, you have new people to introduce too, right?
Do we want? Well, problem is not fixed. I was going to say the other folks on the committee may want to go ahead and introduce yourselves as well briefly.
Oh, okay.
That'll benefit me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Very good.
Shall we go ahead with the?
I think let's go ahead with introductions. Bob's going to call Caroline and see if we can figure out what's going on. We thought we could,
Okay.
apparently not.
So, Mary?
Mary Rogers. I live in Brisbane. I've lived here for over 30 years. I still consider myself new to the OSEC committee. Been on it for maybe a year and a half. I have a finance background, so I'm not an environmentalist, but I'm learning. I've learned a lot since I've been on the committee, and proud to serve on the committee.
Ross?
Ross Dykes, 10-year resident of Brisbane. I grew up in San Jose.
Otherwise, we get the awful feedback. adopt.
Very much involved in Brisbane, love doing community service, so this is just an extension of that. Involved with environmental.
Although I've worked in marketing bazillion very
Worked with the committee for about 4 or 5 years.
I'm Tessa Grezdo, and I'm currently a graduate student at the University of San Francisco working to get my master's degree in environmental management. And this summer, I have been helping out Adrienne as her sustainability intern.
excellent.
Excellent. Mics are back.
Yep.
A little tinny, but
No feedback is good.
Volume down just a tad. I'm Adrienne Etherton. I'm the Sustainability Management Analyst for the city. Been here coming up on 2 years, I think.
I think so.
We good? We're better for now.
We're good for next, hopefully.
How long?
I don't know. If this doesn't work, I think we're just taking minutes, because that's, I'm out of options.
So I staff the Open Space and Ecology Committee. I also play a bit of a support role for Complete Streets and Safety, a Complete Streets Safety Committee. I live in Half Moon Bay. Prior to working for Brisbane, I was the director of Sustainable San Mateo County, a grassroots nonprofit organization in the county, for about 6 or 7 years. I grew up in Illinois. My background's industrial engineering. And I do some community service back in Half Moon Bay as well. I serve on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee there and also on the County Resource Conservation District Board. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Bob Sage. I jumped on this committee during a staff change before Adrienne got here, and I've just stuck around. And usually it's gone smoother than it is tonight with all the audio. But I have just loved the outdoors. They didn't offer an environmental studies minor at my school, or else I would have had it. They only had one class, which I took. So it's nice to kind of years later get into this role a little bit more, and I mostly do the habitat restoration kind of stuff and then help with the meeting setup.
Bob also works with San Mateo County's weed management group, which is very important for Brisbane. So, yeah.
Also
Okay.
quite the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And graphic designer.
So I think we should have that poster printed and sell copies that day in the park. Fundraiser. I'd just like to really acknowledge the staff here at the City of Brisbane staff that we work with on open space and ecology. You have all been so supportive, and it really makes a difference. And I just love that when we have Habitat Restoration Days, you guys get down and dirty with us. And it really, it's like putting your money where your mouth is when you guys get out there and work side by side with people who are volunteering, and it means a lot. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the May and June minutes. Are there any changes to the May minutes that anyone sees? Does anybody need a moment to scan through them, or?
I read them. Yep.
Okay. Barbara, you okay with it?
I'm going to abstain this time.
Okay. Is there a move to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the May and June minutes.
You know, can I go back to the first page of the minutes? Okay. And Ross, do you want to second that?
Yep, seconded.
All those in favor? Aye. All those abstaining? 1. Okay. Next thing is the transportation survey results. Justin, you're just in time. Do you want to come up to the,
No, I can. I can present from back here since the mics are on. You can all hear me better now.
Does
Hey,
the video?
I just want to mention one thing for format here. We are going to switch the video so that the folks on the video will be seeing what you're seeing on the screen, and some of the text might be a little bit small, so if you would like to turn around and look on the big screen right behind you, that may potentially work better. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a way to turn the lights off right in front of the screen to maybe put it in training class mode? Yeah. Thank you. So I don't know if you all had a chance to take the survey when it was made available in April and May. So so the original motivation for the survey was one of the members of the Complete Streets Safety Committee, which is another citizen advisory committee, was tasked with looking at ways to enhance accessibility to the shuttle system, to commute.org shuttles. And he wanted to also look at ways to enhance other alternative commute options as well. So, so that led to the creation of this survey to try to better understand what the travel habits of residents and non-resident commuters are, to better inform some potential improvement decisions that can be made. So for this survey, we received 138 responses, 115 of which were residents of Brisbane who were not students, 18 of whom were non-resident commuters who work in Brisbane, and 5 of whom were students. So I'm going to go over some of the findings for the residents who responded. So we found that almost half of resident commuters are heading in the northbound direction towards San Francisco or the East Bay or Marin, and most people are making this trip 4 to 5 days a week. What we found interesting was that 73% of these trips include only one travel mode, but the remaining 27% include 2 or more travel modes for that trip. So based on that, we can infer that at least part of those trips that have more than one mode include walking, biking, or transit at some point. We asked respondents how they usually travel on a general basis, not just for their typical commutes. And as it comes as no surprise that single occupancy vehicle trips were very highly represented. But about 50 people, about 50 of these respondents reported that they do walk or bike on an almost daily basis. So that was good to see. And of those using transit, almost every of those respondents using transit often or almost every day, BART and commute.org were the most popular systems. We asked people what their barriers to public transit were. What are some of the reasons that they don't use transit as much as they could? And some of the main responses we saw were long travel times, too much coordination among modes, different transportation modes, and a lack of convenient routes and stops. We asked people if they were aware of different apps and websites like commute.org, the 511 website, the trip planning website, and a majority of people reported that they have, that they are aware of them and are either using them or not using them. And we also asked if people are using the commuter benefits offered to them by their employer. Most said that they did not, but what was interesting was that the second highest response were people who use those commute benefits 4 to 5 days a week. So of the people who do use their commuter benefits, they're using them almost every day that they're making that trip.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is a commuter benefit that's provided by your company, does that include parking, free parking?
We did include that as an option under the list of commuter benefits, and as you can see on the lower bar chart there, that was one of the most commonly offered benefits in quotes that are available.
Okay.
We also wanted to know what the vehicle mix that people owned. So we, and again, it comes as no surprise that gasoline vehicles are very highly represented. But there are a fair number of households that own traditional gas hybrids, and a few who own plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles. And there's actually one person here who reported that their household has 4 compressed natural gas vehicles. So that was kind of interesting to see as well. Almost half of these respondents said that they would maybe consider purchasing an electric vehicle for their next purchase. The most common response for the most common prohibitive factor to owning an electric vehicle was the cost, the initial purchase cost. So moving on to the student responses. So as part of this survey, we received 5 student responses, which isn't as much as we had hoped to see, but I think the results are still interesting nonetheless. Most of the we didn't have any respondents who said they go to school within Brisbane. They all said that they go to school either to the north or to the west, so these are high school or college students who responded. And most of them, most of their trips utilize one mode. So we can see that most of a very high percentage of the trips that these students are taking are not in a car by themselves, but rather other modes such as carpooling, walking, using the school bus, and using public transit. And the most popular transit systems that students reported using are BART, Samtrans, and Commute.org. And you can see that there are several people who use these transit systems almost every day, as represented by the purple bar on the lower graph. So we asked what the barriers to public transit were for students, and 3 out of the 5 students responded to this question, which tells us that of the 2 students who didn't respond, you know, they either skipped the question or they felt that this question didn't apply to them because they used transit enough that it didn't apply to them. But we see that there are 2 responses to carpooling and riding a bike as reasons why they did not take transit. And then we also asked if students were aware of those resources, and most of them are, and are using them. So for the non-resident commuters,
Justin?
Yes?
A question. How many students answered the survey?
5.
Just 5?
Yes.
Okay.
And how many non-residents again was it?
115.
No, non-residents.
Oh, non-residents, 18.
18, okay.
So that is this section. So most of them are coming from, most of the non-resident commuters are coming from the south, from further south in San Mateo County or Santa Clara County. Most of the, it looks like the highest, or the once again, the single occupancy trips are highly represented here as far as general trips that these respondents are making. But we can see that 8 people on the far right, as represented by the purple bar, there are 8 people who, 8 out of the 18 respondents here who use transit almost every day. And of those who use transit every day, Commute.org is the most popular transit system. So once again, the long travel times is one of the most identified prohibitive factors to using transit on a regular basis for non-resident commuters, which makes sense if they're coming from outside of the city. As far as commuter benefit usage, we're seeing similar trends to the resident commuters in that most are not using the commuter benefits that are offered to them. But of those who do use their commuter benefits, they are using them almost every day that they are making that commute trip. So by far the majority of non-commuter residents own only gasoline powered vehicles, with a few reporting that they own gasoline hybrids. But by far the majority of these respondents reported that they would maybe consider purchasing an electric vehicle, or are planning to purchase for their next vehicle. And once again, cost was the most common reason that people identified for not owning one. So as part of the survey, we also provided the opportunity for some free responses. We asked respondents, if a hypothetical question, if they could change public transit such that they would use it all the time, what would they do? And there were no limits to the answers that they could provide here. But some of the most popular responses, or some of the responses that stood out the most to us, were that they wished transit was less expensive, more direct, that it would run more frequently, that the Commute.org shuttles would operate on the weekends and at earlier and later times on weekdays, and that the Caltrain station would be easier to access closer to central Brisbane. He also asked what people thought the city could do to improve connection, the last mile connections to transit. And some of the responses we saw were improvements to pedestrian and bike facilities, to Bayshore and to Caltrain. Someone suggested or brought up an autonomous shuttle running from central Brisbane to Caltrain, increasing the frequency of the shuttle service and as well as the scope of the shuttle service. You know, it does not currently serve South San Francisco, but so that's an opportunity that people identified. And someone brought up the idea of adult learn to ride bike classes. And finally, we asked if people had any other suggestions that they wish to share. One person brought up something important, keeping the high school buses going to Pacifica and Daly City. As well as someone suggested a bike share system linking central Brisbane to the Caltrain station. E-bikes as a good way to get on a bike and navigate Brisbane's hilly terrain. Addressing speeding issues on Bayshore and traffic safety on that street. More EV charging stations and more education and promotion of existing transit options and alternatives to driving. So right now we're currently looking to we're discussing ways to use the data with the Complete Streets Committee and sort of the opportunities that where we can implement potential solutions. So one of the needs that was identified as part of the survey was increasing awareness of the different options that are available to residents and commuters here, some of which are free or subsidized. So we're planning to conduct educational outreach efforts through the STAR monthly facts called Transportation Tidbits to educate residents about different opportunities and options that they might not previously have been aware of. Some people may not know that the commute.org shuttle is free to residents, and they're eligible to get a 6-month pass to access that system. We're also looking at ways to enhance the commute.org shuttle stops, to introduce amenities to make it more comfortable to access the shuttle. We're aware that commute.org ridership in Brisbane was quite high relative to some of their other routes throughout the county, and so we're looking at ways to maintain the existing levels of ridership for the commute.org shuttle system and to possibly improve those ridership levels as well. So those are some of the things we're looking at using the data for as we move forward and as we continue to discuss potential opportunities with the Complete Streets Committee. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do. Was this completely an online survey? No paper surveys?
There were no paper surveys. This was made available. This was an online survey. We had publicized it on the website. It was on the website, and it was also publicized on the Star and in the Weekly Blast.
Okay. I wish we had gotten a lot more responses, and it's almost like maybe we should send it further out and get more information. In particular, we might partner with the businesses at in Crocker Industrial Park, as well as the biotech, all the buildings at the marina, and see if we can get them to send an email out in their internal email system to their employees to survey them as well, And at the end of the survey, you know, list the options about commute.org and that type of thing. So that the survey actually serves two purposes. One is to gather more information, especially about commuters coming to Brisbane. Did you have something you wanted to say, Adrian?
I'm just trying to confirm. I believe we sent an email to commute.org staff asking them to send the survey to their commuter contacts in the business community in Brisbane, which they did do.
Yeah, clearly some of that must have gotten out because we did get a number of responses from people who don't live in Brisbane.
18.
Yeah, well, it's more than 0.
It's more than 0, but we have several hundred people who work in Brisbane that come from elsewhere.
Yeah, I think Brisbane's employment population is bigger than our residential population, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
So
it is.
that was, not chastising staff at all.
No,
But that was kind of disappointing.
yeah, commute.org.
Putting
I
it
think
on
if we sent it directly from the city of Brisbane, it might have a little bit of more cachet to it, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, because the numbers, some of them are really too small to be statistically
Yeah,
valid.
and we want to get more feedback too. But we did also offer rewards for doing the survey and gave out 3. That was supposed to be.
How come I didn't get one?
What were they giving?
Their real reward should be when they get to the end of the survey, you give them all the information about how to sign up for the free shuttle.
Yeah, well, at the end of the survey, once they had submitted, there were links to the 511 website and to commute.org, so they could, you know, if they weren't aware of those resources, you know, they would have that information at the end.
No, there's only so
No,
much
but
we can
there's-
do to get people
Yeah.
to fill out the survey. I mean, I think we did everything we could. I guess the only thing I would have added, and this might have already happened, is maybe just put it on the Residents of Brisbane Facebook page, because it seems like sometimes that's how half our residents get their news.
Yeah.
Only
it
way to
is.
get their news, so.
I would expect, as the new biotech buildings out at Sierra Point are fully operational, they will have shuttles from Caltrain and BART that maybe we could leverage to have them come through downtown Brisbane and piggyback off of that. But I would bet they would have some additional shuttles running over there.
There already is a shuttle. I believe it's operated by Samtrans that runs to Sierra Point, and I think that also goes to the Caltrain station. So there's that link between Caltrain and the businesses at Sierra Point.
But it doesn't come through central Brisbane, right?
No, that one is specifically for
Yeah.
the marina businesses.
Okay. I thought there was a
But it's-
Caltrain shuttle. One of the commute.org shuttle stops is at Caltrain, isn't it?
Sorry, could you?
There is a commute.org shuttle stop, or shuttle that goes to Caltrain in
Yeah.
South City.
There is,
right?
yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay.
You know what might be helpful is if we produced a map of the shuttle routes, you know, with different colors for each route and the times that they operate, that could be published in the Star and on the website.
Google does that. Google has the commute.org
That's-
shuttle
Yes,
info.
but I'm talking about like a map for Brisbane that shows just ours, so that you don't have to, you know, like
Yeah,
make it.
but then people want to know when it comes to my stop.
There is a brochure you can pick up in the lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably don't want to reinvent the wheel too much, because
Okay.
people are gonna. Then if there's any reason it's inaccurate, people will find a reason to complain.
I could scan the brochure and post it. I mean,
That might help. That would
you
be a
know,
good thing.
it's always, sometimes you have to keep reminding people that these options are out here.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what we talked about with the Complete Streets. The member that came to this meeting and talked through some of the questions with you was doing outreach, and was the transportation tidbits idea that we came up with, was like, let's put a fact out there every month.
Yeah.
You know, know that the shuttle goes here in these times and it's free, and things about like, there's a program that subsidizes EV purchases for low-income people, families, and the life cycle costs end up being cheaper than a gas-powered vehicle, and putting that information out like we did with the climate facts a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Gonna say that a new Nissan Leaf is $22,000, which is really competitive with the gas car, and then
Requires no maintenance.
you don't have to pay for gas, and there's no maintenance except once a year you got to remember to get your tires rotated, but that gets really hard because you don't have to do anything else, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, I haven't had my tires rotated for 2 years. Not speaking from personal experience here.
And don't forget to top off the blinker fluid too.
Yeah. The windshield wiper fluid, that becomes, yeah.
Okay, so, any more questions for Justin? Thank you. Yeah.
A general question about, I guess, the philosophy for, I guess, our group here. We're trying to increase carpooling, public transportation, electric vehicle adoption, and bicycling if it wasn't too challenging.
Yeah.
Justin, was there anything you think you got as new ideas from the survey that can improve on any of those things?
So one of the, I think the awareness issue is really a big one. I mean, there are apps such as Scoop and Waze Carpool that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of or have never, tried using before. So I think just informing others that there are these tools in place that allow you to look at other ways to enhance your commute, I think is a really big thing.
Good question.
And might want to add, and the reliability of the service. I know that a challenge of mine when using the commute.org shuttle has been oftentimes, and maybe just had bad luck, you go down and you wait, and then you call Samtrans and you discover, oh, well, the driver called in sick and we don't have a shuttle today. And there have been periods of time where the shuttle has been out for days at a time. I don't think that's happened really recently, but
For the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
They have had some staffing issues recently. I don't think commute.org is not able to pay their drivers as competitively as some of the private shuttle systems for some of the large tech companies. So I think that could be a reason that reliability is occasionally an issue for them. But I mean, I think they're doing their best with the resources that they have.
Okay, let's move on to summer education and outreach activities. Tessa?
So today I just wanted to present to you some of the projects I've been working on over the summer. A lot of my projects are dedicated to environmental education and outreach, and some of the projects I'll be sharing with you today include a sustainability and OSEC webpage update, writing some environmental articles for the Star and the Weekly Blast, along with updating the OSEC library shelf at the Brisbane Library. So first I'm going to talk about the sustainability and OSEC webpage update. So we wanted to update the web pages to make them a little bit easier to use and easier to read. This is an image of the previous sustainability page, and as you can see, it consists of a long list of different resources which range from energy efficiency to habitat protection. So what we did to make it easier to use is we created a sustainability homepage where it talks a little bit more about some of our actions that the city is taking, including the Climate Action Plan and the Open Space Plan. And at the bottom here, we have a list of different sustainability topics which users can click on, and that will then lead to a separate page. For example, if you're interested in learning more about energy, you can go ahead and click on the energy efficiency link, and it'll open a new page, and it'll have all the information about energy programs in the city, programs for residents, programs for businesses, and also some of the actions that the city has been taking towards achieving energy efficiency. And what we've accomplished so far is the first step of this update. We mainly have just rearranged the content that was already listed on the sustainability page. The next round will be to really go through the content and make sure everything is up to date and add any new resources that might be needed. So if you do have a chance to take a look at the new sustainability page, we'd love to hear suggestions for new content and feedback on the new format of the site. And some updates for the OSEC page include just updating information, for example, adding Carl's information to the committee's page and consolidating some of the information that's already present on the OSEC pages. One thing that I would like to do is to maybe update the OSEC library shelf online if there are any resources you would like me to add to the list, or also if there are any resources that you think should be taken down, feel free to let me know, hopefully by the end of this month, so I have time to add some new resources onto the library shelf if you want to add anything. Another set of projects I'm working on include writing different articles. For example, here I created a little flyer to promote the e-waste event that took place last month, and after the event took place, I wrote a little event summary explaining how the event went, and that was sent out in the weekly blast. Some of the other articles that I've written that have already been made available include the wildfire safety that was in the July Star, along with Plastic Free July, which was presented in a weekly blast at the end of June. And for the August Star, you can expect to see an article about light pollution. Some other future articles that I'm working on will include waste sorting, pesticide use, sustainable purchasing, alternate commute options, and proper tree trimming before a yard waste event. And the last project I wanted to present on is the OSEC library shelf update at the Brisbane Library. So we created a little graphic here of how we envision this update to look like. We have a little calendar at the top with a different action to do each day of the week. For example, on Mondays you can try to eat meatless, or on Saturdays you can try to attend a restoration event. And we'll have some content below to support the actions that are listed in the weekly calendar. We can include the next restoration event flyer, farmers market flyer. We have a reduce, reuse, recycle guide from San Mateo County. And also there's a map with safe areas to walk to school or bike to school. We also have a basket dedicated to have brochures for people to look at. Along with 2 baskets of books, we'll have one basket dedicated to environmental books for adults and the second one to environmental books for kids. We have created a new list of books that we are hoping to obtain, new environmental books that are found at other libraries in San Mateo County. We're going to hopefully be able to send some of those over to Brisbane to add to our collection. And that's a quick summary of some of the projects I've been working on this summer.
Excellent. Does anybody have questions or comments?
Looks good.
Yeah, looks
It's been a
great.
long time coming,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Thank you.
Looks
That was
great. Very exciting. Okay, subcommittee reports. Well, we have not met on the open space plan.
It's been a while.
Yeah, we should really schedule that, and we keep talking about scheduling it, and we haven't scheduled it yet.
Right, we start, and then I don't hear from everyone, and I get busy, but I did pass the declaration of use restrictions for the acres. That was
Oh,
one
nice.
part of that. Kind of nice to do, but I'll reach out again to schedule.
Okay,
Cool. Awesome.
climate action plan?
Ross?
Well, I think I was there. We are meeting one last time before the next meeting, or am I mixing that up with something else?
Well, you might want to talk about our meeting last week, but then, yes, we do have a next meeting scheduled.
Yes. So we did meet last week. We talked a little bit about the upcoming building energy audit stuff, for lack of a better term. Sorry, bad with names of things. And trying to think of what else stood out.
The The CAP staff training was the other big.
Oh my God, that's
agenda
right, the
item.
CAP staff training. Ugh, the most important part. Attendance was, attendance was mandatory, right? So that's why it was fairly high.
It wasn't exactly mandatory, but the city manager strongly encouraged all
Yes.
staff to attend, so we have had pretty good turnout.
So, and the responses seem to have been pretty good. I guess I did have one question related to that. I remember you'd made a comment earlier about people in the city not really understanding which recycle bin to throw things in. After the training, did that improve at all?
No, I haven't. I think it has some. We had a lot of really good questions and comments when we got to that part of the training, and basically every session, really thoughtful questions about where does this very specific thing go. So I think that part really helped for people. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see if things improve over time or continue slipping. I've also had a couple people come up to me after the fact, kind of on their own, and follow-up questions. So.
Okay, that's good. So the educational aspect of it looks like it was going to be helpful. Most people were not doing it because they were lazy. They were doing it because they just didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course the building energy efficiency, continuing the audit about that. The only thing that I think stuck out in my mind in terms of being maybe disturbing or disappointing was the sort of the lack of participation by a lot of the large landowners in the workshops that we had, and maybe things that we could do to reach out. But I believe the city and Mitch Bull are already doing what they can to get participation up, so I think that they've got it under control.
Yeah, we're gonna meet with some of the bigger business owners. We just want them to definitely be aware
Mm-hmm.
of the ordinance.
Yep.
All right. Next is events.
I will just note that that next meeting for the committee was scheduled for August 20th, which is a Tuesday, instead of a Thursday this time. Usual 3 to 5 p.m. time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next is events, and we have 2 events coming up. One is our annual Coastal Cleanup Day on September 21st, is it, Bob? Yeah. And are we doing Harney Way again?
I haven't driven out there lately, but that's on my to-do list.
Okay. I think that would be really good to follow up with that after last year. I will not be here on that day because my niece is getting married. So I have a really good excuse. But I hope everyone else will be. Mary can tell you how much fun it was last year, and we filled an entire dumpster with garbage from the marsh where there's a ton of birds there.
So I've already registered with San Mateo County, and I have that site listed, so they have it on their broader webpage that they're gonna, if anyone's clicking through the county to advertise. So my plan is that we're going out there unless we drive out there and it's nice and tidy, and then we'll make a plan B and react.
Trust me, it's not nice and tidy.
Yeah, we're planning on it.
Okay.
Jeff Franco and I have already talked about it a little bit. We just need to.
It would be really good if Caltran could come through before and clean the other side of the Harney Way before we did our side, the side that we're not allowed to access, because then we would have to cross Harney Way and put ourselves in danger, which you prevented me from doing last year.
Safety
So
first.
it would be really inspiring if they took care of the stuff that on the other side of the street first before we go out to do our work.
I'll put in a service request.
That'd be awesome. And then for Day in the Park, Mary and I could use some help. Carl, you want to be on our committee?
Yeah.
Since you have little girls.
I may be already committed because I'm with the Silver Spot group, and I think we have a thing with. But
On the same day?
Well, yeah, we have a booth too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have to basically choose between one of them. So let me get back to you.
Let's see, we're a group of 7, and Silver Spot has how many parents? just
No,
numbers.
I would stick with Silver Spot.
Huh?
Don't want to piss them off.
Well, let me just get back
Okay.
with the group.
What we do need some help and ideas, and what we're going to do this year. And
I'll join you.
that'd be great,
Yeah.
Barbara. You've always been very inspirational in that. Cause I'm gonna be like kind of up to my eyeballs in alligators over the next 2 months. That would be really good.
Stick me on there.
All right. And can we, get a planning meeting scheduled, like in the next couple of weeks so that we kind of know what we're doing?
We can try, but you may have to meet without me because I'm going to be gone for a little while.
Where are you going?
Australia?
Well, make Bob take your place. He always has good ideas and good posters.
I will try to see if I can help get that set up, and if it needs to happen while I'm gone, you can meet without me and I'll provide Tessa and Bob some notes.
Okay, that'd be great. Because I just think time is going to go like that, and it's like 2.5 months away. And okay, next is the festival tree replacement, and I believe Karen, you were going to schedule a meeting with Park and Rec.
Did you confirm the type of tree? Because what I do remember that we looked into moving it, and some of the advice we got was just not to replant a fully mature tree like that it's expensive and kind of challenging to
Well, you'll
plant
kill it.
a big tree.
Yeah.
So
We should
wanted
move a
to-
smaller tree then and wait for
Yeah.
it to grow.
I mean,
How big is too big?
how big is too big, and do we get costs involved, and who did the advice come from, and have we worked out all the other details, et cetera?
Yeah, I'd only talked to one tree mover, and he had said he could do it. It was more expensive than a new tree, and I didn't follow up with him regarding species. He had just said he'd done new trees for other cities, so that's.
Yeah,
And-
and this guy had said I can plant a tree for you, but that wasn't, we weren't necessarily going down that. We don't know what exactly.
So we're still where we were then.
I didn't think that we'd come to a conclusion as to what type of tree.
I thought we did.
Did we?
Yeah, well, we had, Megan and I had.
Okay, because
but
I know
you
I
weren't
was kind
here.
of missing for a while, so.
Yeah. And we had gone down to what used to be Creekside Tree Farm,
Yes.
and they had said we could have a tree, any tree we wanted.
I mean, you brought samples.
Yeah, we
Or-
brought
Mhm.
samples,
Yeah.
and
Were there smaller ones?
I think about the smallest is about maybe 14 feet.
I think it has more to do with age. The problem around here is the water table is very, very high.
Yes.
And if you transplant a mature tree, most trees that are, the conifers that are Christmassy like, can't handle being waterlogged, and the adult trees will just die.
Well, that's why we took the field trip to Creekside,
Right.
because they have similar conditions, and
I guess any whatever an arborist, can pull off in terms of determining, okay, here's the cutoff, and this is what we can plant, probably fine. We just probably couldn't. I maybe I got confused. I wasn't sure if we were talking about moving the existing tree that's there now out of the way
no.
and to plant
No.
something. Okay, that's
What
the
we
answer.
had decided, what we've talked about all along, is planting a new tree and letting it grow while we continue to use the old tree until the new tree gets big.
Mhm.
And then someone had said, I mean, everybody has ideas. Someone said we should just plant a little grove of trees and then pick one.
Oh.
So I'm at a standstill. I don't know what else to do besides what I've already done. And Meg's not here, so.
Yeah, just pick it and plant it.
Well, it's not just up to us. That's the problem. We are supposed to be coordinating with Park and Rec.
Yeah, and I thought you showed us the tree, but you still were trying to find out
We did show you the tree.
what particular type of, it was a cypress, right?
I believe it was a California cypress, or it might have been a Sequoia gigantea. I'm not sure. But they don't grow gigantic here,
Yeah.
like they do
They'll
in the
Yeah,
mountains.
they'll stay smaller.
But I don't think it was a
Conditions aren't as
Sequoia sempervirens, no.
Okay,
it was
I do
not.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the issue with both of those trees is those trees like to be with other trees like them. Otherwise, they tend to look a little windswept and they get a little blown around.
they didn't on site. That's why we wanted you to go with us to the tree
Oh,
farm to
right.
see them, because
Daddy
and we
didn't,
brought
yeah.
photographs. which we showed, and I'm happy to go over those again, or maybe we have them that we can send.
I'm okay with whatever you guys decided, so I think
So,
you just need
I'm-
to talk to Park and Rec now, right? And
yeah,
tell 'em
that's where we
here's
were
the
at.
tree.
Well, in that tree farm, they weren't by themselves though. There were a lot of them.
There was a lot of them they weren't crunched together. They were standing alone here and here and here. Yes, it wasn't an empty field with one tree in it, but we looked at trees that were standalone trees.
Right.
That weren't next to another tree. So they weren't grove-like there at all. I mean, they were planted to be far enough apart from each other to be able to, grow and be cut kind of like, Creekside Tree Farm is not a tree farm of rows. It's an open environment was naturally planted.
Right. Park and Rec presumably has an arborist that they would work with, right? That would know.
I don't think
Whatever.
they do any more than we would.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more in Public Works purview, and they weren't that picky about the type of tree. They were more interested in having a say on where it was located, whether it was over
Ooh,
by
Park
the-
and Rec?
Yeah, over by the gazebo or kind of next to the existing tree and reconfigure.
On the leeward side of the existing tree would be better, which I guess would be
That would be my first thought.
due south of the existing tree. Because I think the prevailing winds come from the north right there.
I think they come from the northwest, so we could go southeast potentially.
Yeah, we want to shelter it. I mean, part of the reason our existing tree looks the way it does is just because there's nothing
It's just
sheltering.
wind shear, yeah.
It just naturally kind of, does that. So if we can put the new tree southwest of that, or southeast, whichever,
Yeah.
southish.
Or roughly so.
Right, just on the leeward side of the tree, that would help protect it. I think that's probably the only real, critical thing.
And if they think that 14 feet is too large to move, Michelle, and I'll even go back with her if you want, and we can look for a smaller one.
Well, also, I mean,
Or we can try to find a nursery stock that's the same species.
Yeah.
The whole idea was to go and find something that was in situ
Mhm.
where we could see what its conformation would be when it
Mhm.
got larger,
Yep.
that it liked to grow in the kind of conditions that we have.
Yep.
And that's why we chose to make 2 field trips down there. And if we're not going to do that, I should call Mr. Jodecki and let him know that we're not going to come and get one of his trees.
no, I think we should. And I mean, if it's a free tree, it's worth a shot, even if we think,
Well,
it's all a percentages game. Even if there's not 100% chance it'll survive, it's still
yeah, but the
Right.
huge expense is in the moving.
moving it.
Yeah.
So,
And I think you deal with a lot of, we would hear a lot if that tree didn't survive, that we didn't know what we were doing. Or,
That's
you know.
true. We don't want you to be massacred. So
well, the fact of the matter is we don't really know what we're doing. Okay, so
And, yeah, and that's a little bit why we're.
floundering.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get some expertise in this area.
We did contact a couple arborists, and we heard redwood, and you guys didn't want a redwood.
Okay, when they say
I know,
redwood,
but I'm saying we did.
no, I just
I'm
would
not
like to
trying
know,
say we should, but we did contact.
when they say redwood, could they be specific Sequoia sempervirens or Sequoia gigantea? Because if you look at the old library community center, those trees are Sequoia sempervirens, which is the coastal redwood. They were planted in the early 80s.
yeah, and they're just not very
1980.
Christmassy.
And they're freaking gigantic.
Yeah.
Like they're becoming a problem. They're so huge. And so I don't think that is an appropriate tree to plant there unless you want a, giant redwood tree right in the middle of town. I just don't, I think that's not a good idea.
It wouldn't be maintainable.
No, it's not over a long
Maintainable.
period of time. So you want something that's going to kind of grow, that its natural conformation is not going to be 100-foot tall tree. So that's why that recommendation I didn't think was, really a very good one from the point of the arborist that you contacted.
Yeah, I mean, our first recommendation, we had a recommendation for the tree that we have in there now, and that didn't work out super stellar.
Yeah, I don't know the history of that.
It was what was recommended.
From.
Some arborist. I don't
that's
remember. That was a little bit before my time, but yeah.
I believe it was a gift to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember?
I mean, it's been there a long.
It's been there a while.
How long has this tree replacement been a project? Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 5 years.
Right? Let's pick a tree and get it
Yeah.
planted.
I mean, I think
5 years is way too long to have something.
Yeah, well,
It already be
On our
10 feet
to-do
taller
list?
than it was when we
Open
planted it,
Space
huh?
and Ecology Committee's project.
Yeah.
right.
Tree
So what
doesn't-
I get,
that's fine.
what does? So Park and Rec wants to provide input on where to put the tree.
So what's their input? Do they want to come? Do they want to sit over a map? Do we want to
Yeah.
discuss it with the city?
They want to have one meeting and talk about.
So let's have that. The next step should be schedule that meeting and identify the location of the tree.
Yeah, and we don't even necessarily have to. I mean, I think we've got the species buttoned down, but we wouldn't necessarily to decide on location. So
Well, but once it seems like once we have a location and we have a tree, then the city can decide. All right, we're gonna go get it and plant it. And, you know,
that's fine.
it happens. So the next step should be let's find the location for the tree,
Yeah, that would be good.
and then make sure that that location makes sense and the tree has a good chance of survival.
And just keep in mind that we'll probably need to mound it up a little bit.
We
I
can
would
almost do
guess.
both meetings together.
Awesome.
Even better, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay,
We'll probably have to block it off and the usual.
I think we've beaten this one to death
Yep.
for tonight.
Awesome.
Do we know what we're doing? You want to reiterate it?
I'm gonna email you guys right now.
Aaron always knows what she-
Okay,
Go for it.
all right. And next is the PCA grant application. Have we heard anything? Huh?
Crickets.
Crickets. Okay. Well, then, next is the liaison for the tree ordinance.
I did want to just note that we skipped education and outreach, but I think that was probably well covered by Tessa's presentation. So
Oh,
yes,
we did.
I don't know if Mary has anything else that she would want to add to that point.
No,
or
I
we
just
can
want
focus
to
on-
give kudos to Tessa. The presentation was great, and hopefully we'll be able to get the display revamped soon.
So we're actually going to meet with the library manager early next week. So
Oh, great.
hopefully we can get
Okay.
that done.
Tamika?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget to negotiate space in the new library.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think she's willing to give us some space. I think we just have to keep reminding her as it gets closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't mean to skip that. Okay. So where are we at with the tree ordinance?
So it went to council, and there were a number of different thoughts from council members about it. So they wanted to talk about it as a subcommittee. They formed an ad hoc tree ordinance, I guess, subcommittee. I believe they've met, so.
Oh, I would have liked to have, because those meetings are usually open to the public, right?
They have to be, yes.
Yeah,
So I would have really liked to have attended that.
yeah, they, planning staff is coordinating with them because they rewrote the ordinance, and they said they didn't make it a combined meeting with planning commission and OSEC because they knew what it was. So I don't know, I thought they met, but I was not told.
Who's the
if they
subcommittee?
met. I think it was, so it was ad hoc, and I believe it was Terry and Karen. So they're, it's in the works, and I'm not sure, I haven't been told that they made a decision or.
Well, if they haven't met yet and they do meet and you get wind of it, please let me know and I will try to keep my eyes peeled as well.
Okay.
Because I would like to know what their thoughts are as a citizen
I feel like I thought I saw it on the blast. And
Yeah.
so
I
wasn't
didn't
told that.
see it, but
I read the blast, but it seems like the 1 out of 10 times I miss it, something really important goes by me.
Well, I
so.
don't think that they have final, they still have to bring the ordinance back to council and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
gonna be-
yeah, yeah. I just would like to be plugged into the whole process, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I'll put time into it.
okay.
liaison for benchmarking ordinance.
Okay. as I well, I bumbled it a bit before. The next step for this is oh God, hold on, I have the actual terminology here. A study session with an ad hoc committee, which is going to be Cliff and Karen, I believe, right?
It's actually not an ad hoc, it's with the Economic Development
Sorry,
Committee.
Economic Development Subcommittee. I knew I was going to bumble something. Which I believe is Cliff and Karen. I think I got that part right.
Yes.
That's going to be August 29th, from 1 to 3, or actually 12 to 2 or 1 to 3, one of the two, to go over where we are so far.
Yes, that's correct. And just to note that we do have a webinar tomorrow morning on auditing. As Karen mentioned, we are doing outreach to building owners, so we have a couple of meetings scheduled, and we have emailed a number of additional large building owners. If we don't hear back from them within a few more days, we'll probably be following up with a phone call. We really want to get that outreach on and the draft ordinance outline before we take it to that study session. So that's where we are right now. And then tentative timeline would be having that study session the end of August, having the draft ordinance come to this committee at your regular September meeting, an informational item for the Planning Commission in October, and going to council hopefully at their November 7th meeting, if nothing gets pushed further out.
So, tomorrow's webinar, is that going to be available afterwards?
I believe so. The last webinar was. We haven't been able to record the in-person workshops, but they do have the ability, I believe, to record the webinars. So
Okay.
that was the case with the first webinar, and I expect it is going to happen again.
Okay, what
10
time
a.m.,
is it
right?
again?
It's at
10
10 a.m.
Yeah, it'd be really, I want to see it, but I'm really jammed tomorrow, so I'm hoping that it will be available to.
I fully expect that it will, unless my technical challenges continue, but I'm not running that one, so
Okay.
hopefully we are all set for that.
How many
Okay.
people have signed up for that, or do we not have that data?
I got a report, I think, a week ago that we had 13 people, something like that. So,
But I might be one of them.
I haven't signed up yet, and
I just signed
I'm
up
meaning
now.
to, so.
Okay, so next is calendar items. Let's see, August Day in the Park, disposable foodware ordinance.
Oh.
I love that. Do you want to talk about that at all?
I can, sure. So the county is working on a disposable foodware ordinance that would apply to the unincorporated areas. They did some outreach, a couple of public meetings and a webinar, I think June.
Is this
primarily.
like, can I just ask a really ridiculous question? Is this like outlawing plastic forks
Mhm.
and spoons and
Uh-huh.
knives?
Yeah.
And
Cups
straws
and cups and
and
straws, okay.
clamshells and yes,
Okay, good.
that is what that is.
Okay, just checking.
Outlawing might not be quite the right word, but yes.
Close to it.
Close to it.
Soon.
So they have a draft, and the idea is for us to do some outreach to our food businesses, which we are hoping to do in the time that we still have Tessa with us, about that kind of draft that is floating around out there and seeing what kind of feedback we get. We are still waiting to hear from the county confirmation regarding education and enforcement, which it seems likely that the county is going to take on either with the Office of Sustainability or the Environmental Health Department. But they still need to get back to us or figure out themselves exactly whose responsibility all of those things are going to be. And our hope would be that once the county passes something that we would take the identical kind of measure to our council and pass the same thing, basically along the same lines as what happened with the plastic bag ban and styrofoam ban to try to create uniformity around the county and allow the county to be the enforcement side of that.
So I'm going to make a request.
Sure.
I'd love for us to have a side-by-side display at Day in the Park of the disposable foodware ordinance, disposable foodware versus compostable or anaerobic digester foodware. That would be, like, this is current state, this is where we want to be. So side by side, we'll have to glue them down so they don't blow away. But
Yeah.
I think it'd be really informative for people.
You'd want some reusable examples too.
Yes, that's what I mean. A side by side, sample. We could do all three. It's hard with reusables, silverware reusable, yes, but in the restaurant business, they cannot take your container and fill it in their kitchen. Period. So it'd be really good to have, an example of, disposable foodware that's being used currently, and what we're hoping to achieve, so that people can actually see visually what it is. Maybe we'll put it up on a board or something. I think that would be really a good visual for Day in the Park. I remember when we made the recycle thing, that really helped a lot too. I mean, people kind of got into that.
Noted.
The other thing that
I-
might be
I did go to I think it was with the Scavengers. They hosted a event, I think a month or two ago, where they had examples of like metal straws and things like that. So if we can get some freebies from some of those companies.
I already have some free
Okay, right.
metal
Oh, I
straws
think those are
to
good.
give away.
Good, I mean,
I got them actually from the county. I think we had them at Earth Day, if I remember right, and I think I still have some left. So I might have to see if we
Okay.
can get more,
Right.
or they wouldn't last very long for Day in the Park, the stock that I still
Yeah,
have.
they're handy,
But
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
great.
The other thing I'd like to do for the Day in the Park that is sort of around this whole idea is, we do have a lot of trouble deciding what garbage goes in which bin. And so
I have volunteered for many years to sit there at the waste station and help people sort. You just got to give me a pop-up because I'm not turning into a crispy critter.
Well, what I thought maybe this time is we could have display boards at the recycling and garbage stations, and that showed what went in each bin, and that it was attached to the bin, and have soda cans and compostables and that type of thing. And make it very visual, very tactile, so that people can look and say, that's that goes here. That goes here.
I'd be happy to work on that.
Yeah, I think we should just do that. And maybe have something similar to that at the Mission Blue Center, because became really obvious to me that even people who really cared a lot didn't know how to do it.
Sounds like a plan. We'll make sure to talk about that when we have a subcommittee and Day in the Park
Okay.
planning.
Yeah, but while you're doing this disposable thing, I thought maybe you could gather some samples from them, or are you guys participating in that at all?
That's not.
It's all online?
Yeah, I don't think they have actual physical things that they're going around with. It was a webinar and some workshops, and I was not able to attend the in-person workshops, so
Okay.
I don't know if
What are we
they had
talking
any
about?
physical things to
Collecting
share, but
alternatives to disposable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the calendar? It looks like, June, July, that's about it. August. Yeah, okay. So let's move on to, staff reports. Sharon Committee. Oh, look at that. There's your two OSEC members out there.
Wait, 3.
Three.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh,
Meg.
yeah.
Yep.
And Tessa,
There's Megan.
Yeah.
Megan's disguised in her hat.
Yep.
yeah, so for those of you who couldn't make it, CAL FIRE beat us, or not CAL FIRE, North Coast Fire beat us with their fire suppression, and they chopped it all down. Didn't know that that was taking place until right before our event, but we were still able to, as you can see in the picture on the right, get a lot of the broom stumps. So now that we're aware, I just was not on my radar at all that they come through and weed whack. So we'd already picked the site. So next year when we plan the days, we will check in with Clyde and see when they're getting out there, because I know for them, they had pushed it back this year, he said, because it was such a wet winter that they could push it back a little longer, but they usually try and get down there in May. So either we can talk to him next year when we're planning it.
Before that, I just want you to make note, and when we do talk to them, when the city first did this after the 2008 wildfire, it was discussed and they agreed to pull broom, not cut it off. Because when you cut it off, it just grows back bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger, and it just becomes this cycle instead of actually changing the habitat by removing the stumps of the broom when they come through. And somehow, in the first year, they pulled the broom. They did not whack it down. But since then, it seems that they've gone back to whacking it down. And that's not best practices for long-term management. It just perpetuates the fire thing. So I don't know if we can discuss that with them about maybe they just come through and, it might be better if we kind of worked with them to find a happy ground that combines the best practice habitat management with the best practices in fire management.
Yeah, we can, when we're planning it next year, we'll check in with them.
Like before they do it, maybe like.
Yeah, we were planning ours in February, so that should be.
Let's talk with them in December so they know, or we might have to get more funds from the council or something to do it properly.
Yeah, I don't know where their funding comes from.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But I know the first time we did it, it did come before the council, so.
They use swap workers.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, lesson learned, we will coordinate with them. We're still able to get a lot of the stumps out from re-sprouting and a lot of the thistle, and I didn't make it up the hill, so we'll sort that out. But we had about 25 people, so that was pretty good for the summer turnout.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of kids this time, and that was really fun too.
And I don't have a slide, but the other staff update, the last weed management meeting I went to, they were doing a report. So fiscal year 2018 and 2019, the CDFA, which I think it's California Department of something Agriculture, had given a one-time $2 million to the weed management agencies in California for projects. And that has been changed, so starting with fiscal year 2019, that'll be an appropriation, so it's ongoing, so it's starting at $3 million, and they're gonna try and get to go up from there, so that's a 50% increase, and it's guaranteed now every year. Locally, San Mateo County was awarded $56,000 and some dollars for oxalis removal, and so they're doing part of that on San Bruno Mountain, Hillside Juncus, and the other part is at Pillar Point Harbor. And they have done a test plots the first part of that was to do test plots of mechanical remover, some spray, and I don't know all the details.
Chickens.
I think they had 5 different kind of test plots, and so before they do the major removal, they're going to see which one had a higher success rate. And so I also talked to Ramona before she left. She's no longer with them, I don't think, but she's.
Oh no.
They applied for a grant for, I know Glenn had really wanted the pampas grass and the ciabatta grass.
Right.
And they did not receive that grant the first go around, but they're applying again for this year. So it seems pretty promising since they had awarded already the $56,000 for oxalis that I think they were, kind of next in line. So that was the project that Glenn had wanted, but it's ongoing. And now that they've all come here, if we get another big project, maybe this year, Michelle, if you have any ideas, let me know and we can start working on it, because there will be ongoing funds for that. And separate, the money does not have to be used, the project does not have to be completed within the calendar year. It's allowed to roll over. So kind of like that oxalis is a 2-phase project. They wanted test sites and wait, and they don't have to spend it by the end of the fiscal year. And some of that $3 million is going to be allocated for research and development. And I know that the Friends of Edgewood had worked with Creekside Science, and they were doing some grass remediation. And anyway, so they're all kind of involved, and it seems like that's going to be picking up steam and ongoing. So we kind of got in with the weed management area at a good time.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Yes, thank
so
you,
much.
Bob. The chickens completely removed all traces of oxalis and oxalis bulbs from my yard pretty fast.
Ooh.
All right.
And the coyotes would remove the chickens pretty
That's
fast up on the
true.
mountain.
Somebody would have to there'd have to be like a
Oh, my.
chicken tractor or something.
Yeah, I'm not, I will report back on their update, but I'm not going to micromanage their project. I
Okay,
will let you know
fine.
their successes, and if they ask, I will tell them about the chickens.
Cool. That's all
Tell
I
them
can ask.
anyway during a break.
Will do. Yeah,
Very excited about
chickens
that.
per acre that I need to report on.
Yeah, how many chickens per acre?
We have what? A tenth of an acre?
Anyway,
So that was chickens.
actually, we haven't reported back since we had the picnic in the weeds, have we?
With what?
At our meetings, because we haven't had a. Did we?
I don't
How many
think so.
people came and what a success it was?
Okay, I'll just cover that. So we,
Go, Bob, go.
how many people are, I don't have it in front, like 30, 25?
Something like that, yeah.
So the weed management area, what that is, every county, it's through the Department of Agriculture, and this all started, what, like a year ago? Lot quicker than the festival tree. It was, we were looking into an invasive species ordinance, and
The bird.
the invasive, so I was Googling it and said, oh, there's a weed management area in San Mateo County, and I emailed somebody who's no longer there, and they gave me somebody else's number, and so Michelle and I went to a meeting, and did I go before you once?
Yes.
I went by myself and just said, hey, we're the city of Brisbane, we're interested in creating an invasive species ordinance, and they all said, good luck, it's our property, the property rights in California are pretty high. If you guys have any success, let us know. In the meantime, thank you for coming. Here's what we do, feel free to come back kind of thing. And so Michelle and I went to the next meeting where they announced that they always do a picnic in the weeds. So they meet bi-monthly, and one of their meetings they go on site to see a project. And so Michelle volunteered Brisbane. So then they came here on May 21st, and we put together a little slideshow that kind of explained OSEC, some of the open space that we have. And then we all took
Projects we've done.
the projects we've done, and we took a field trip up through Firth Canyon and looked at the ivy removal, and then up onto the mountain to see some of the open space that we own. And then we had lunch at Mission Blue Nursery and looked at the native plant nursery. And so when I went to the meeting yesterday, which I forgot to check in with you, Michelle, I don't know if you
I
had
couldn't have gone
Yeah.
yesterday. I knew about the meeting. I saw
So
it.
everyone started. They all were lots of praises and kudos for what a informative and fantastic picnic in the weeds, because that was the last meeting before yesterday's, and so they were quite excited. They're glad. I think we're the second city to be partnering with the weed management area. It's usually conservation districts, and it was primarily agricultural based, but now it's branching out, and they're kind of encouraging cities to join. So I think San Jose is a member, or Santa Clara, one of those bigger cities is a member in the other WMA, but I think we really impressed them with our tour and how much Brisbane does for being a city of such small sizes. So I reported back yesterday about our Habitat Day, and Hannah was there, and I know that San Bruno Mountain is getting grant money, and so now we can kind of see what they're doing and then maybe apply for something closer to home if we think of a project. And now that there's this ongoing funding, that $3 million is statewide, I believe, but it's still enough that it seems like at some point we should certainly be in line to partner with them. You have to get the grant through the Department of Agriculture, so the WMA would partner with us on the project and just kind of distribute the funds.
Yeah.
But not really, they'll be like the silent partner, so that's the benefit of joining.
Yeah. It's been a really good partnership, and it is really important for us because more than any of the other cities, we have the interface with the mountain, and that's vital for weed management and prevent further invasives from creeping up onto San Bruno Mountain,
Absolutely.
destroying the habitat.
I don't think any of them had been on the mountain. The reception from them, I don't think, very few of them had been up on San Bruno Mountain, so I
Yeah.
think they were all pretty impressed once
They were enchanted, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even like the most gorgeous place or gorgeous day, but they were just like, oh, it was fabulous.
yeah, so good strides there.
Yeah.
Oops.
So, we had talked about this before, and I went back and found it, and I think I'm going to interject now because it's part of the WMA. but their draft strategic plan back from earlier this year mentions that they intend to produce a portable display describing San Mateo County weed management area, local weeds of concern, control projects in San Mateo County, and others used to educate the public about the effects of weeds on San Mateo County's ecosystems and agricultural lands. So I thought maybe we could grab that for Day in the Park, if they've actually made it yet,
Or invite them to come.
or invite them to come.
They did have a display at the San Mateo County Fair, and we were part of that display. So they had mentioned us, so I can check in to see if that display is available. And I didn't go to the fair, but
I did, I saw it.
okay. And so, yeah, I'll check in with them and see if that's available.
Yeah, and it also says produce, update, and distribute invasive weed brochures. We could couple that with ours. They're gonna extend distribution to the libraries, nurseries, and private landowners.
That came up at the meeting yesterday as well. They are working on an updated weed brochure for San Mateo County. So they mentioned that they were nearing completion, or I'll have to look at my notes. And the gal who mentioned that, I don't remember exactly who she was from, because it's kind of consortium. So but I'll check my notes to see if I noted who was actually working on that.
If they have those available, we'd love to have them available at the pancake breakfast and plant sale.
Yeah, invite them, and then that also says they're gonna sponsor workshops for volunteers on weed management and weed mapping, so.
Yeah, I've already been to one of those, and then there's another one, but it's in Santa Clara, so I wasn't planning on going. So yeah, all that's covered.
Yeah, you know, if we could host one of those, potentially, maybe.
I don't know enough to host
Okay.
one, I would feel.
No, I meant like Brisbane could host one, but it would be their staff, maybe. Just
I will,
thinking.
yeah, I'll put it in the,
Sure,
In the hopper.
yeah.
Okay. When Bob puts it in the hopper, it usually happens.
good.
Anything else on staff updates?
Yes. Well, we covered some of mine before. Ross alluded to the CAP staff training. We've had 3 of 4 sessions. We have one more remaining next week, Wednesday, and that will kind of finish off, I believe, pretty much all of our city staff going through that. We do have a video of one of the sessions, and we will get that up on YouTube and share it with you in case you are interested in watching how that went. We already talked about the benchmarking stuff. Reach codes are still moving forward. We have a staff internal meeting planned next week, and we are tentatively looking at trying to bring those to council in September. Our EV station was finally reopened on Friday. There was a station recall, and it took quite a bit of time, unfortunately, for them to get here and replace it, but it is back and up and running, and so very happy about that. We also, I submitted our annual report to the Carbon Disclosure Project last week, and the week before that submitted an application for a Platinum Beacon Award. We have 2 categories left out of the 5 to receive a full Beacon Award, and it looks like, may be eligible in both of them. So I submitted that application. We'll see if that is accepted, and if so, we would be receiving a full Platinum Beacon Award in October.
So what are the 2 categories? I'd like to get a little more plugged into this process.
I believe they were agency electricity savings and community greenhouse gas reductions.
Okay.
Were the 2. We've already received platinum in the other 3 categories. So those I think were the 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything.
Okay. Karen, did you have any?
Well, I just went over what I've been working on since everyone's kind of ganging up on me, and a lot of them are.
We're not ganging up on you.
A lot of them are.
We know how busy you are.
And transportation related, but I'm just going to give you a quick list in case you're interested. Tunnel Avenue paving, federally funded, state funded. developer funded, locally funded, regionally funded, managing that with Justin, yes?
I just wanted to ask, Tunnel Road is a private road, correct?
Not the
Not
wide
entirely.
part.
Okay.
So the part with curb that's wider is city-owned, the southerly part that's narrow is UPC-owned.
Okay.
So we did a repair, we got federal funding for local streets and roads that we intended to kind of be better than a Band-Aid, but like a 10-year, you know, not perfect, it's nice now, but it's gonna get redone if.
It's still a little,
plans develop. Yeah, we tried to take out the
the big hump.
bird bass, the low spots that would collect water and then fail more quickly, but we didn't totally try to fix the grade. And we didn't look at the railroad tracks because when it's federally funded, that just becomes a nightmare. And some of those spurs are inactive, so in the long term, we'll let the developer deal with that. We added sharrows and the manholes. I have not seen the manholes at grade in all the time that I've been here, so I think it drives really nicely. We're also gonna repave Alana, which is up by Recology and is in really tough shape to drive through.
Oh, God.
Oh, thank God.
So that's,
Swallow your tire holes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen this weekend. And you guys are probably not, I'm just gonna go through my list quickly. NPDES and Sierra Point Lighting and Landscape District assessments to make sure the city gets, this is a Bob, $600,000 in revenue each year. That took a bit of time. Wildland fire evacuation plan, we kinda went through that with Complete Streets. They were interested in what is the plan and what can we do to be more specific, so we worked through with fire what their plan is, and we're gonna try to publicize what people should do. As of now, the county is looking at an overall plan and kind of modeling what the whole county should do, but for now, fire plans to come in up the backside of San Bruno or up Visitation, Monterey, Humboldt to the upper streets, and they want people to exit down San Bruno or down Visitation. And they also talked about which there was an article in the Star, and we're gonna keep doing publications about their Ready, Set, Go plan, that you should have your bag ready and you should get out. That's the best thing you can do. There's a wildland fire. And then everybody sign up for SMC Alert, so that they have ways to communicate.
You know, I'm on the SMC alert, but I never get anything for Brisbane. I get all this stuff for the Mid-Peninsula, and I don't know why.
Check, because there've been a few things, right? The power outages and
You know,
some traffic signals out and detours, and there've been a few things that have gone out in the past few months.
okay, I'll go back and.
I think I got alerted about the power. I think I remember seeing the alert about the power, so.
Yeah, I did see the alert about the power after I already knew the power was. But
The transportation staff did some pavement maintenance training and certification. It was funded by SB1 because there's a new additional gas tax that's allowing us to repair more pavements, so they kind of wanted to retrain everybody. That was part of the funding. The projects that Adrian's working on, Reach Codes, Building Efficiency Program, the Guadalupe Channel Repair, it just got 70% design drawing, so we're still trying to do that next summer. The Safe Routes to School Green Infrastructure just got the 70% design like a day or two ago, so we'll be reviewing those and moving that forward. Trying to construct that later this season, so that's on a shorter schedule. CIP projects for council, did some work related to presentations, and I guess I should tell you guys now, the Complete Streets Committee looked a whole bunch at the intersection of San Bruno and Bay Shore.
I have comments about that, and I'm just gonna say them. Disallowing people to turn left from San Bruno Avenue onto Bay Shore and forcing them to turn right when they wanna, and south when they wanna go north is a serious problem, because there is nowhere to make a legal U-turn until you are practically at Grand Avenue in South San Francisco.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yep.
not what we're trying to do. We're
Yep.
trying to have people notice that before they get there with signs, and then navigation will change when you can't make a left turn, and they'll be directed the other way.
And how in the hell are they supposed to make a U-turn on that road?
Oh, hopefully they know before they.
And that they live on that road?
Yeah, the people down
And,
at that end.
you know, it's just not reasonable. And the way it used to be, it was wide enough there that people turning left could stop and wait until it was safe, and people turning right could go ahead and go And the people turning left didn't feel all the pressure of the people turning right.
Yep,
But
yeah,
after
that's
they
true.
re-engineered that intersection and made it narrower so that only one car can be at the stop sign at a time, it is when it created the problem. And not being able to make a
And
U-turn
that's not true,
is
because
not
there were a
feasible.
number of accidents from when you're facing southbound and you're trying to look back northbound. You don't have as good of a look.
Yeah.
That's why it was.
Yeah,
Well,
and they should
before-
not allow that first parking place to be parked in right there because it
That's
blocks
one of the parts of the
visibility.
plan is to take that parking space away. But there were a number of accidents before that was re-engineered.
Yeah, but it wasn't the fatal accident was after they re-engineered that intersection. And I've lived here all my life, so I've seen it for a long time. But not being able to make a legal U-turn is going to make people make illegal U-turns.
Well, we're gonna put some more delineators along the northern end.
It's just
and
not
let me-
reasonable that they
no.
have to go 3 or 4
Well, they're not gonna do that on a
miles.
regular basis, are they?
Yes, people do all the time.
They can go through town and turn at a signalized intersection at Old County if they need to go north.
And the reason people don't want to do that is
It takes a minute longer?
it takes 2 minutes longer because that signal light is set for 2 minutes at some points or 1 minute and 45 seconds. And people can't turn south because the people who are going,
So I was just giving an update, maybe we should talk offline.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is not really, it's not really relevant to this.
It's
really-
just not well thought out at this point. I'm sorry. Okay, so is there anything else?
No, I think Adrian covered most everything else. Highway safety improvements grant, Justin maybe didn't mention that, but he doggedly went after a grant to make improvements on Guadalupe. So we're gonna add rumble strips on the shoulders to protect people from driving off and to protect
Right.
bicyclists. So that was pretty low cost and we got it almost completely funded. So we're working on the environmental stuff because there's a long federal process.
Nice.
That's it.
Okay. Next meeting is August 21st, 6:30 p.m. I'll try to be here at 6:25 so we can actually start at 6:30. And maybe all of our AV will be really in shape too. And we'll just really get it done. So,
We're thinking about, we wanted to ask if the committee wanted to have a break, because council doesn't meet in August, and if we want, like, we know that, well, Glenn is gonna be back, actually. I was thinking.
well, we kind of had a break last month where most of us, I mean, only about half went on the field trip. What
Doesn't
it,
sound like anyone's saying.
If we've got stuff to do, I'm happy to be here.
me too. I think it's a busy time of year for us, getting ready for a day in the park and the other events that are happening and, Carl's new continuity. So I think that we have a lot of work to do.
Okay, just wanted to check. Sure. Didn't have any, we're here, so we can have a.
Can I ask a question? I know that the budget was supposed to get approved, at the beginning of July, right? All the capital improvement projects? Is
Yeah,
that correct?
Late June.
Late June? So I was just, wanted to follow up on the 280 South Hill funds and, segregating some of those funds for, the architectural drawings that we spoke about, or RF,
The
getting,
master plan.
getting quotes, yeah.
Yeah, that was funded.
It was funded, okay.
Hmm.
Alrighty,
And improvements to the Firth Trail, those were funded.
okay. Thank you.
Was there anything else that was funded that was relevant to us?
Well, Park and Rec staff, or recreation staff, has to come back, and I think it's on tomorrow's agenda, on the e-ink signboards.
Okay.
There were questions about, what their life expectancy was, because there was a payback to do them. They would pay for themselves in a certain amount of time, but would they be expected to last longer than that amount of time?
Yeah, I heard part of that. I guess they
Hmm.
don't have a very long warranty period.
It's cheaper just to buy a spare with those typically.
Okay. Anybody want to move to adjourn, or can I just do it?
Before we adjourn, I did have one extra question. With respect to the subcommittee activities,
Mm-hmm.
as a kind of a new person to this, how do you learn more about these other things? And
We're gonna put your name on every
Well,
single subcommittee.
Yeah.
well, just
And you'll learn a lot.
Just you
now.
wait.
understand what they're about, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
contribute to some of them.
Mhm.
So,
I mean,
We sh-
or just talk with the committee members
No, no,
offline.
well, I
or-
was gonna say, I think I told you when we did an orientation that you would get a sense of
Just get a
what they
feel.
were doing, and
Yeah.
then tell us what things you might be interested in. And we did talk a little bit, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that's basically what you told me, but I guess maybe I just go with the flow for now, and you know.
Well,
Was there anything that you had a burning?
like events? No kidding.
Outside of the one I can't
I
get to
know.
yet, but you know, I guess there's
Keeping-
several that were grayed out. I wasn't sure what those were about.
Go back to them.
Like the science fair judging or invasive species stuff.
The science fair judging was grayed out because it doesn't come up until the,
Okay,
January.
Yeah,
right.
We
later
start
on.
planning at the end of the year for
This-
the beginning
Okay.
of the year.
right, and the South Hill Fund's the same,
Same.
but Mary asked the
Or-
question
Yeah.
about it. The signboard replacements that is already under review by the city council.
Okay.
The invasive species ordinance was kind of put on hold while we worked with the weed management group to see whether we could actually do something about it. And we wanted to get the tree ordinance through before we pursued, the invasive species ordinance.
Yeah.
So if there is any of these committees that seem of interest to you, like,
Mhm.
you know, climate action plan or whatever, we can only have 3 people on a subcommittee because otherwise it would violate the Brown Act,
I see. Okay.
because of the quorum
Right.
and stuff like that. But if there's anything that you're interested in, any committee you want
Yeah,
to be on,
okay.
speak up, and, you know, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
And at the maybe at the next meeting, we could put reorganization of committees on the agenda. Also, if there's any agenda items that anyone wants to place on the agenda, please let us know, because I guess I'll be working with you on the agendas now to make sure that we're covering everything we want to do.
Yeah, you kind of jumped through chair and committee member matters pretty quick, so.
Yeah,
And I think I'd explained to Carl, that's the spot where the chair will dictate the agenda, but the committee can bring up things and then the committee can discuss whether to put them on a future agenda, or a majority can say they want something on the agenda.
right. And speaking of which, is there anything that anyone has now that they're interested in having on the agenda for our August meeting besides what all the other work tasks that we have? Any,
Time machine.
okay, that's not going on the agenda.
The meeting where they discussed the tree ordinance was at 5:30 today.
Oh, okay,
Oh, it's close. We were close.
all right. Well, let's put that on the agenda so that we can have a good follow-up of where that's at, since we did work hard on that, so. In that case, anything else, Ron?
Where were we in discussing things like the dark sky ordinance and the lighting replacement?
Yeah, we had a whole lot of those kind of issues on over the last 2 years that are sort of like out there
Or we
that
just keep
haven't
talking about it?
finished.
So we have a work plan that has those items on there, along with a whole lot of other items, some of which we are actively working on, like the benchmarking ordinance, and some of which we haven't had the capacity for.
Okay.
So as far as specifically the lighting ordinance, we had discussed that at CAP subcommittee a couple of meetings back and decided that we wanted to start with a little bit of education around night lighting, which is the article that Tessa wrote and the CAP subcommittee discussed briefly at their meeting last week before we submitted that for this upcoming STAR.
Oh, no, could you, I didn't, I am.
I mentioned that.
Never mind.
What,
I didn't see it.
the article? It hasn't been published yet, it's
Yeah.
upcoming. So, did you wanna maybe work with Tessa on it?
Yeah.
It's already been submitted for.
So-
Oh, it has, oh.
It was
Yeah,
okay.
the print deadline
Like
is
that.
generally the 15th. We need to have everything in to send off.
That's why I was feeding my words.
I guess the
Okay.
question is, do we want to add any of that to the agenda for next meeting to talk about, or is there really, doesn't sound
You
like.
know, I would kind of like on the agenda for next meeting, just a review of the things that are on our work plan and maybe a prioritization of where we're at on
Status,
things.
yeah.
So that we don't lose things that we've discussed and worked on because we have so many things on our plate. Is that possible?
It is. I mean, I guess I'd just say that we generally review the work plan at the end/beginning of the calendar year, along with the report on our annual accomplishments. And I can't speak for the entire committee. Obviously, we have other subcommittees and other staff working on things, but as far as my time is concerned, I'm not seeing a whole lot of opportunity to do much more than the benchmarking ordinance and the reach codes at this point in time. So
Yeah,
we can
but-
have that conversation, we can take a look at it, but it's something we would do in a matter of a couple of months anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there might be small things that we as committee members can pick up, so.
And at least it gives us instead of waiting till the end of the year when it's too late to do anything about it for this year, maybe we could look at the work plan that we approved in January, I think it was, and then just kind of ourselves see where we're at with it and say, oh, okay, I need to step up my game and do more so that we can accomplish this, because we try to be a working committee, so we're not sitting here just telling you do this for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have done an amazing amount of things, and you're spoiling the heck out of us on that. But there are things that we can do too, and we just need to be reminded and do them. So it might be good for all of us, especially with Carl being new to the committee, and just a reminder for all of us and where we're at.
You know, I'd say we could move to reviewing our work plan every 6 months.
It's a good mid-year review.
Yeah,
I've
we just
heard-
have a quick mid-year review. I think I would like that.
Yeah, I would too. Okay, so, anything else? Oh my God, it's 8:31 and we're adjourned.
Thanks.
Well, motion to.
Oh,
motion
I'll
to adjourn.
second the motion that somebody already made, right?
Yep.
all in favor? Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Done.
Thank you.
Now I can go home and have dinner.
I'm so pissed. I am so pissed. I'm gonna throw myself on the floor like a little child and start screaming.